The 2022 offseason has been electric. Players getting traded, players signing with new teams, and of course, drama. NBA teams either utilize these factors to become winners of the offseason or get overwhelmed and become losers of the offseason. In this video, we're going to take a look at 3 losers of the offseason. First, we have the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers definitely aren't the biggest losers of the offseason, but still losers. Last year's Lakers were a tremendous disaster. They were pathetic, considering they were the preseason favorites to come out of the West. The Lakers didn't really get worse this offseason. They added Thomas Bryant, Lonnie Walker, and Juan Toscano Anderson, but they didn't get better either. So far, they haven't moved Russell Westbrook, and until then, nothing will change. Along with that, LeBron is almost 38 years old, and last year he proved that he can't carry a team like he used to. Overall, the Lakers didn't do enough to create a championship contender around LeBron. It all ties back to the terrible Russell Westbrook trade. Russ, LeBron, and AD's contracts alone are over the salary cap, and with that, they really couldn't sign any free agents. Even if the Lakers trade for Kyrie Irving, they aren't contenders. 3 players can't win a championship alone with the surrounding Lakers roster, and that's before you take AD, LeBron, and Kyrie's injury history into account. They should still do the trade though. The Lakers' window with LeBron is closing, so rolling the dice is better than repeating last season entirely. Next is the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets just had a major setback in their rebuild. It's not their fault, but losing Miles Bridges is a devastating blow. Bridges was arguably their best player last year and a borderline all-star. His departure opens up a massive hole in scoring from the 3-4 spot. Sure, the Hornets added Steve Clifford, who's great at taking below-average teams to the playoffs, but the Hornets will struggle making the play-in this year. Losing Miles is huge, and the Knicks, Wizards, Magic, and Pistons should all improve from last year. Once again, this terrible offseason is not Charlotte's fault, but without a doubt, they're massive losers. My last loser is the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn has had an awful offseason. Last year was a disaster. Not as bad as the Lakers, but still very disappointing. Once again, the Nets were the preseason favorites to win it all, but instead, they were in the play-in, and ultimately got swept in the first round. Much of the blame can be pointed to Kyrie Irving. If Kyrie was vaccinated, James Harden would have stayed, KD would have not had to carry the team and end up hurting himself, and the Nets as a whole would have developed chemistry. Last year's disaster is the reason for this terrible offseason in Brooklyn. Their offseason started with turmoil, contract disputes with Kyrie Irving. Kyrie had a player option for this upcoming season, but instead wanted an extension. However, the Nets refused to meet his demands due to the constant uncertainty surrounding them. Instead of opting out, Kyrie chose to return for the player option. It appeared that the Nets would run it back this year. No more vaccine mandate, Kyrie can play, Ben Simmons should be healthy, and they still had Kevin Durant. To capitalize on this window, Brooklyn shipped out one of their remaining first-round picks to Utah for Royce O'Neal. Hours later, Kevin Durant requested a trade. An all-time great player like KD requesting a trade is just the surface of Brooklyn's problems. The Nets can't just blow up their team and rebuild. Houston owns most of their picks from the James Harden trade, and they just traded one out to Utah. Trading their team to tank is not an option for Brooklyn. Another factor is KD's trade value. Brooklyn can't get as much out of KD as some might think. Some of this is because of KD's age and injury history, but most of it is because of the NBA's collective bargaining agreement. NBA teams are only allowed to trade for one designated rookie. A designated rookie is a player who signs a max rookie extension 1 year before they hit restricted free agency. The following players are designated rookies. This means that KD couldn't be traded for a player like Bam Adebayo, because they already have Ben Simmons. For Brooklyn to do that, they would also have to move Ben to a different team. Recently, KD told Brooklyn that he would play if owner Joe Tsai fired head coach Steve Nash and general manager Sean Marks. However, Tsai made it clear that he would stand with his front office over Durant. At this point, everyone assumed that the Nets would be running it back with their current front office, Kyrie, KD, and Ben Simmons. But recent reports state that KD could hold out and refuse to play. If that's the case, Brooklyn will have to trade him. Overall, the Brooklyn super team experiment has been a disaster, and this offseason is making it even worse. So those are the 3 biggest losers of the 2022 offseason. What other teams do you think have had poor offseasons? Let me know in the comment section down below. Like always, I'm Lance with Ball Withdrawal. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, keep an eye out for future videos, and I'll see you then. Thanks.